with the latest on radiation, not just from Fukushima, as if that's not bad enough, but of course Chernobyl still floating around up there, all the radiation in the U.S. from our nuclear power industry and around the world from every nuclear power plant released 24 hours a day or thereabout. And of course, back to the late 40s and 50s above ground testing, which went on in the South Pacific and in Nevada. So we have lots of radiation. And I again refer you to the story about the mountain lion in Idaho. I can't tell you how old that animal was, but if it's, say, 4 years old or younger, the potential of radioactive mutations in the animal, not just the teeth coming out of the top of its head, but there may have been other things as well, is quite obvious.
People worry about radiation. I think just about every American knows about Fukushima and that is concerned about radiation effects. Nobody's really doing anything, so I don't have a lot of reason to hang around there. I flew a domestic flight over
a dead ocean.
Colorado, Pacific first. The Pacific, across the Pacific, massive banks of radiation off the Pacific coast, dense clouds, fairly high level of radiation as you hit the California coast, well over one receiver in the plane off the window. Now, it's interesting when you measure in the plane, okay, that I was sitting in the window. I always choose the window seat, even though it's very harmful to my health, because I can get readings of direct radiation. Now, not all the readings. These are much lesser readings because you got to understand, you're inside a plane by a window. You got a sheet of glass in that. It's a very small window, sheet of glass and a sheet of plastic.
Yeah.
Which is going to stop the alpha radiation. And then that whole window is surrounded by metal, basically, and then the metal's painted, and a lot of that paint contains titanium particles, which will reflect off much of the beta radiation. So
that's interesting.
Gamma radiation.
Huh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
In other words, if I was able to stand on the wing of this thing, I get much more radiation because I get a lot more beta and all the alpha. In the middle of the plane where the radiation comes into the cabin, of course, it is pressurized, so it builds up. It's stronger than outside the atmosphere. You get maybe nearly double the reading. If you're standing right in the middle, let's say where, if you go in an airplane where the air crew has, their little stations where they prepare the food. If you go in there to that, if you're connecting that, you get nearly double the reading there, okay? So, because you're getting the radiation from both sides and also from the air intake. So, let's say if the radiation were low, there'd be not a heck of a lot to worry about. If it's pretty high, it's threatening to your health. Anything above, let's say half a microsievert would be threatening to your health. And I got one well over 1 microsievert crossing the Pacific.
So you had Yochi, you had 1 point something. You were over 1 microsievert.
Yeah, well over 1. Yeah, right. And then the other thing is visually, you can see the clouds below, but as coming in the evening in California, you can see this smudge on the horizon, weird color. Now, everyone knows what a normal sunset looks like. It's very brilliant. You get lots of yellow, red, and then what a rain looks like, right? You'll get the whole full spectrum. What does it look like? It's sort of a weird orange, along smudgy orange along the horizon, like it really looks like a nuclear war in one of these old movies, It's very strange what it looks like. Visually, that sort of coincides what you see in the light out there in the moisture with what you're reading on your dosimeter. Now, later on, I took a domestic flight over northern New Mexico, southern Colorado, into Denver. That was alarming. Now, this is when the jet stream's coming down, and we had all the winter tornadoes in Texas nearby on the edge of the jet stream. So this is where the jet stream is pushed you down and toward the bottom of the jet stream, okay? And you can really see that smudgy orange sky all along the horizon, especially toward New Mexico, You'll see it toward Texas and all. You'll see this massive amount of smoke because basically a lot of the radionucleotides are being driven down there, are pushed down there. It's like pushing a broom, down the hallway.
Got it.
Dust will collect there.
Yeah.
Okay. And one thought Okay, well, let's just go. Okay, one thought came to me there. Man, is this karma? Yeah? Down there is Alamogordo, Los Alamos, where they built the world's first operable nuclear weapons. They ran the first live nuclear test there. Yeah, this is very Buddhist of me. You know, there's a karma. Then I put my scientific cap on. And I said, no, man, this is all to do probably with some sort of electromagnetic effect with radiation. You know, a nuclear bomb will bend the Earth's electromagnetic field. Radiation travels along the electromagnetic field lines. And the cyclotron, a good example. You use a whole series of magnets to bend the path of these atoms, like these protons swirling around, electrons swirling around in circles. The electromagnetic effect of New Mexico, major center for weapons testing and development. A lot of uranium in the ground at Four Corners and all that. That's been, the ground's been opened up. Got a lot of radiation down there. It's acting sort of like a magnet for Fukushima radiation. This is one of the reasons this jet stream is pushing right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's not just a push effect. It's a pull effect. And we saw that with these super tight, all these, record number of typhoons going in toward Japan from the Pacific since, 3/11.
Yeah.
And heading right toward Fukushima. Same effect. Fukushima, there's a pull effect. Fukushima is sort of calling in, okay? It's creating this bending electromagnetic field and calling in all this, all the radioactive isotopes that had poured down into the Pacific are coming home, so to speak. So there's no chickens coming home to roost. Very true, radionucleotides. Anyway, so I'm flying over these mountains, and I get this massive reading of more than 3 microsieverts, okay? You can see
over 3. Wow.
Yeah. It's massive. I've never seen such high levels before. This is like inside a nuclear plant, and so anyway, what I see down below, I'm looking at the topography. I look down and I see a cloud over a lake, the fog over a lake, and then I see a very opaque spot in that, in that lake, and then I get the weird light effects again, that strange green on one side of the lake, and then orange on the other. This is not a rainbow, this is nothing like a diffusion of light, This is a completely different kind of, what I call a tritiated cloud. I see it from above out of this lake. It's very eerie feeling. And right next to that is a larger, longer lake that looks like a horse's head. And the lake's completely frozen except for a couple of spots. And I see these cracks in the ice, these long cracks. Very unusual because I used to go skiing on lakes, in the Midwest and all that. And in the Sierra, I used to ski on lakes, with cross-country skis. So, it's very unusual to see these long cracks, frozen lake on the top of the Rockies. That's cold up there. And
that's
then,
wild.
I'm trying to figure out. Then I go to Denver, friend's house, they asked me about radiation. I put the dosimeter on the dining room table, 0.4, because this is really shockingly high. It's dangerous here. You got to do some extra cleaning with, lemon-based compound, acidic compound, to try to remove these hot spots from there inside your house. Denver is a dangerous place. And I'm thinking, I understand why Denver, what is it, Denver Broncos, the Mile High Stadium? High Stadium.
It's up there.
Okay? It's up there. It's in the clouds, and radiation travels in moisture. It's in the clouds. So therefore, the higher you go, okay, the more likelihood you're going to be hit with radiation if that jet stream dips down. That if it's coming from Fukushima, it's dipping down. You're going to get a much larger effect either along the coastline, which is very wet along the Pacific coast, or in the mountains. Okay, and this same effect, I'm thinking, wow, Idaho, mountain lions, they're up there in the hills. They're up there in the hills. Same thing. Jet stream, pours right over.
Oh, sure.
It crosses sort of at a 45-degree angle, down across. In other words, Idaho is one place where the jet stream just frequently crosses in the United States. And as you pointed out, Boise, Idaho was massively contaminated, the most contaminated city in the United States after Fukushima, immediately afterwards. and you got the altitude there, okay? So that would account for this concentration from Fukushima in the Idaho area. Now, the question you pointed out earlier in the show is a very responsible one, and we're not blaming everything on Fukushima. There is the Idaho National Laboratories, the nuclear weapons. They're the chief nuclear weapons laboratories for the U.S. Department.
Yeah, they also have a dump there called Atomic City. Yeah.
That's it. There's a massive dump, and there's huge tanks, water tanks, like at Fukushima, and they're leaking, not from the tanks, but from all the spigots, all the all the pipes, and so it's leaked millions. The government's admitted it's leaked millions of tons of radioactive water. Now that water drains towards the east and ends up eventually inside the Snake River's aquifer, the Snake River aquifer.
Yeah.
Now, this is alarming. Okay, you get this weirdly, there's a weird cat, big cat, with the teeth coming out of its head. This is really typical DNA, mutation basically affects the radiation on DNA. Yeah. And it's got this up in the hills there. And then down below, the water that's passing this environment from the lab, from Fukushima, from whatever, nuclear testing, the jet stream, is washing down in eastern Idaho, in that vast plain there, into the aquifer there. Right. Now, this aquifer provides huge amount of irrigation water for what crop is Idaho famous for? What crop?
Potatoes.
What single potatoes? Idaho potato. Okay.
Yeah.
And everyone, nearly like 98% of America eat regularly Idaho potato. You go to
all French fries. Absolutely. Hash browns. You bet.
Yeah, hash browns. Yeah, you got it. I mean, this is serious. This cat is a warning sign about the American diet, and not just America. There are fast food chains from the McDonald's, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendy's, delivering Idaho potato spuds to the whole world. There are 120 countries around the world, especially young people, right? Younger kids, they love going to fast food and consuming this stuff. And this is seriously dangerous. This big cat is a warning sign. Yeah, so the human genome is under probably the single most dangerous thing in the world that people are eating is fast food. Yeah, and the French fries right there.
Yeah, you bet. Sure.
I did a little research on potatoes now.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, okay, the Idaho potatoes is kind of a mutant. The first generation was developed by Luther Burbank, and the second
Luther Burbank,
and the second variety that came out of that was the Idaho potato. They have different kinds. Luther Burbank made a smooth skin one, and the Idaho potato's got that rough skin. Okay, and that was developed in Denver, Colorado, by a farmer there. So basically, it's kind of a genetic freak, and in Seattle, Puget Sound area, I was visiting there in 2013. A friend of mine there saved her potatoes from her garden. She had russet potatoes there and Idaho potatoes. The russets were all mutated. They were warped. They looked like little human figurines. They looked like little animals, heads and legs and all that. I measured that, and I measured the Idaho potatoes, which showed no signs of genetic change. In terms of its
nothing visual. Okay.
Nothing but had twice the radiation, or 3 times the radiation. In other words, these things don't show the mutation. It doesn't give you an alarm.
I got it.
It looks okay. You see? So everyone would not eat that weird potato. We call it the fuku-tater. They just put it in the freezer and wouldn't eat it, yeah? But
well, this is important because the potato growing under the ground picks up the percolated radioactivity that comes through the rain into the soil. Okay, and it probably intensifies and collects its. I don't think it goes down too far. I think it goes down maybe a foot or 18 inches and just stops.
That's right. You're right there, because we're talking about irrigation. There's no rainfall in that part of Idaho. It's irrigation